I had a really weird childhood. Both of my parents were magicians, so they were always doing crazy tricks around the house. They'd make stuff disappear in front of my eyes, like my inheritance. They'd go, pick a card, any card, then max it out.
So my name is Charlie Nadler, and I'm a comedian and writer living in Clarksburg, Massachusetts, and I produce comedy in the area. And with the Adams Theater, we are producing our first comedy show together on Saturday, June 3rd, with Isabel Hagen, who's been on The Tonight Show twice. She was on The Tonight Show in October, and then her first time on The Tonight Show was right before quarantine. She was the last comedian to perform before lockdown in March of 2020. I am opening for her. Yeah, it's a great. I love opening for big comedians like that because you just get to do your best, your favorite jokes, and then work with someone that you admire a lot. So we were living in New York, and we didn't really love the rat race of being in the city and all that entailed. So we were familiar with North Adams because of Mocha. And we came up here a lot just to, get Airbnbs and escape the city. Yeah, so it was a great change, and I don't think we'll ever leave. It's just I love being here, so I'd rather bring comedy to me than, take myself out of the Berkshires to go do comedy. I love doing comedy around the country, but I think what's really special about this part of the world is that people don't take fun things for granted here. Like when there's an event like a dance party or a comedy show or some kind of pop-up event, it's a big deal. My whole kind of philosophy around it is like you just have to have a really great product and treat everyone really well so that everyone has a good experience. And if you do that, you kind of organically build something special. So, I've been tried to be as intentional as possible. Obviously, comedy can be subjective, and some shows can be funnier than others for various reasons. But shows I've been producing have had good turnout because I've just put a lot of care into booking people who I think would appreciate the opportunity and who also I, admire as a creative person. And, we've seen gains. In the first show, we had 50 to 60 people, and then closer to 70, and then closer to 90, and then we sold out the last show at 210 or something like that at Bounty Fair. So yeah, I found that if a comedian's gonna come out all this way, some of my friends come from Denver, I have a couple of comedians in LA that I wanna bring out. Like if they're gonna fly all the way to Albany, I try to do it so that, we can line up 2 or 3 in a row so that it's kind of like a little run for them, but space them out enough so that, Adams has their show, Hoosick Falls has their show, not to compete with the markets. Adams is such just a solid community where I was worried the first time I did that. I had a show in Pittsfield one night and then at Adams the next, and both of them sold out back to back. So I found out probably just from the Eagle probably, or whenever, purchased the theater, I read the article, and, I was familiar with some of the organizations that she's worked at before, and just thought she had a really interesting background. And I'm always a fan of big cultural projects and economic development projects. So I just reached out to her, and she was kind enough to write me back, and we just started talking about comedy for a while. And then once we got further along, she reached out. I think what's so great about a venue like this is you can bring really world-class established, I like to think there are world-class people out there that aren't yet playing at a theater like this, but with a 350 seat theater, you can really bring known people to this place and introduce the community to them. So it's a wonderful opportunity to work with some of the best. Yeah, I really like to have a mix of, obviously I live here and just host the shows, but I really like to feature people in the Albany area, or, our last show at Bounty Fair, we had this really hilarious guy, Mark Jagello from Adams, who is from here and lives here. So I always try to mix it so that it's a nice sort of blend of everything. So my parents were both television writers. They met writing on Laverne and Shirley in the late 70s. So I was kind of born into show business. My dad was also a stand-up comedian when he started out, and he and I actually do a duo show together at times. So he's still doing it. But I grew up with people like Jimmy Walker and Richard Lewis, like that kind of generation of stand-ups just being around. So it wasn't like a foreign thing to me. I never really thought I would get into show business. In high school, I was like very good at math and science and just thought I'd do something different, but I just, the genetics were too strong, I guess. I went to film school at BU and eventually did stand-up shortly after graduating, a few years after graduating. But I'm most excited to perform in this space. I mean, I think this space is just super great to be in. I'm excited to introduce North County to Isabel Hagen and, world-class comedian and violist in their midst for that night. And just to, put on a really big comedy event that I think will be highly entertaining and fun for everybody. I think anyone who is a fan of live performance and music and who likes to laugh should go. I mean, it's going to be, it's probably an adult show. So I would say, all ages of adults will have a great time. And I look at it as I think she's a very accessible performer that'll be entertaining to all demographics of adults. I think what's fantastic about this place is there's a very strong community of people who have been here for generations, and then there's also a lot of younger people who are discovering North County and moving here even before the pandemic, and then certainly during and now after. But I think there's a lot of sort of existing infrastructure that lends itself really well to the arts. What I like about stuff like comedy and music is that you just need existing places. You don't have to like build a comedy club. Like you can bring the comedy club to a partner organization. So it's and the audience are proving that they're here and ready to support live events. So I think the more we bring more, I think the important thing is just bringing more job opportunities to people who grew up here and who live here. I think, the Mocha started it, but the electric factory before that showed that you can't just have like one anchor organization or factory. It's just too risky. So, I'd like to see a lot of like small to mid-level companies forming here and employing people here, and that'll create more of a tourism economy and arts economy. I would say there's just some folks to thank. I think it just thanks to in the theater for creating a lot more culture in this town, which I'm really excited about to be just an audience member in all the other shows. Thanks to the Mass Cultural Council too, that's provided some grants to me this year, which will help me to really build my business into an actual business and bring more comedy to the Berkshires, and then the organizations that continue to partner with me on the shows, which I've mentioned, Bound Affair and Bright Ideas and Unihog and Berkshire Palette. So my website is charlienadler.com, and you can find a couple of albums I've released on that website. You can follow me on all my socials on that website. Laughdealers.com, which is my company that I co-founded with a childhood friend. That was the E for All company. And also, I'd encourage you to come out to the Isabel Hagen show on June 3rd, and also keep an eye out for anything under the Pop-Up Punchlines banner, which is my business of producing shows around the Berkshires. So they can get tickets on the Adams Theater website, and there's a great ticket portal there. And if it does not sell out, which it very well may, they can get tickets at the door that night. But advance tickets are always recommended. And it's also being catered by Bounty Fair, and there's a great dinner package, so they can get dinner and a drink and the show. So I'd recommend that as well. Thank you.